Okay, so I don't normally do DPS reviews because I don't feel super qualified to do it. I'm literally Diamond 4 peak on DPS. I swapped to support not long after like really getting into comp, but because you're gold and with a negative win rate, I figured I'd take a look just so you'd have a little something to go off of tonight. I did pre-watch just a little bit of it, but then the rest will all just be like nuanced information after that. So first thing out of spawn, you get hit by a fire strike that you see. So I'll tell you the same thing that my coach always told me. Anytime you get hit by a fire strike, you should just go ahead and drop and do like 5,000 push-ups. That should just not be a skill shot you get hit by unless it's like you don't see it coming at all. Using your healing pad is fine. Nothing really crazy about that. Yep, good pushing up. Do want to try to get to a little bit of cover where you can shoot more. Uh, Specifically in that room, in order to hit anybody, you kind of have to wide peek. It would probably be better just to like get into a spot where you don't have to peek as wide and expose so much of yourself to get shots, especially whenever you're just like full on just looking straight at the tank essentially. That healing field was like pretty troll. Like you're dropping it preemptively for a fight you don't even know that's gonna happen. It's a long cooldown. I don't think it'll end up actually mattering. But like you're pushing, aggressing, and then like using it immediately whenever there's nothing happening to you. This flank is fine. It's unlikely to get a whole lot done because you kind of need to coordinate that kind of stuff with your team so that they don't just like immediately look at you because there's nothing else to look at. Going up here is good. But this is also a good off angle. Like, yep, you get a pick immediately. Great. You cancel your reload, and that probably costs you that kill right there. And then you kind of make the first, like, what I would consider, like, big mistake, I guess. Like, why drop down onto the Reinhardt? Like, you know both tanks are alive, and they're in a position where you could be right between them and the tank, like, in a spot that's safe. Like, there's not really any reason to drop down. Like, if you can disrupt them, yeah, the tank's probably gonna die no matter what, because they got your tank has both healers behind them, like completely like with no pressure on them at all, and you could be pressuring their their supports the whole time. And it's like immediately you have to like fall back anyway, and like now you're in a position where you're like literally not doing anything. You're just shooting straight ahead. Tank wakes up. Thankfully everyone like hits their skill shots and stuff, and you were able to capitalize on Reinhardt dying. You hit a great rocket. See, like, this is good. Like, whenever you can actually dive or, like, push in and get a kill, and then, like, with the cascading consequences, like, turn that kill into something else, it's great. But, like, up top, whenever you had, like, full reign over Ana and Brig, you just, like, didn't want it anymore. You just, like, the Brig, like, juked you for, like, a second, and you're like, yeah, that's fine. You can escape. I'll just let you live. And then yeah, again, thankfully, they hit the sleep. They're able to like capitalize and like split the tank from the supports again. But you had like full agency over that fight, where you could have been the difference is like take out the main just one support, and it would have been like infinitely easier.
I've been doing this for years. Who the hell are you? Tactical visor ready for deployment.
There's nothing really wrong with this. You honestly don't want to take like the same angle as like your sniper, because then it just reduces the amount of places the enemy team has to look in order for them to just do damage. They can just like incidentally shoot at you, and then even if they don't hit you, they might hit Widow. So like, you definitely want to take off angles, and off angles mean going somewhere and shooting from a place where none of your team is, or like they have to choose between shooting you or shooting them, or shielding you and shielding them. Like, because Reinhardt has a shield, but it's only one direction. He can't shield two directions at once.
My ultimate is ready.
Good confirm. Definitely shouldn't. You definitely. Oh boy. So I'm sure you're just panicking or whatever, and that's like not a big deal. There's a health pack like right here. Like you could have gotten a big boost of health, just literally right here, and you probably wouldn't have died, and you may. I mean, you probably would have got a little bit more value than you got, but I don't know if it would have turned the fight entirely. Yeah. So ult tracking is a big thing. So they've had the soldier and the Ana for a while. Excuse me, over here they had the soldier and the Ana for a while. And soldiers never ulted, and you're just kind of like standing out in the open. Which I mean, again, you're obviously distracted by like what's in front of you, wanting to confirm the kills and everything. But if it's been a couple fights or like a respawn or whatever, and you know that someone hasn't used their ult like at all, you should be aware of the fact that it's probably going to come up, and especially here, like you, they could have been like 5 steps away from being able to even see you with that from where you were positioned. Whenever they pressed their ult, you had like literally nowhere you could have gone to get out of his sight. Like you just like you're super far away from any even semblance of cover. Like the best you could have even hoped for was that like you get to walk over here and duck down and then just hope to LOS him a few different times and not die. So just general positioning, being aware of what ults the enemies probably have or might have at the very least.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
They'll regret that.
She's gonna blow!
And I hope you don't think I'm being too harsh or anything, but you did say that you felt like you played at the level of a diamond, and I'm obviously not seeing that. You walk over here. Okay, so I mean, I don't have to say too much about this. You walk over here just like blissfully unaware of the existence of enemies and then die for it. If you're not using a headset, you may want to start doing so, because everyone in most ELOs probably use a headset unless you're on console. And sound is OP. Just being able to hear stuff before it actually happens, very strong.
They can't get away with this. Fall in for healing.
Be purified.
Everyone heal up.
I like you using your healing field for your support. Like, that's obviously great.
Show off.
Definitely peeking a little wide. Playing here just kind of sucks anyway, like getting across this bridge. You kind of want to be able to cross, and then, yeah, try to find a different angle where you're not just, like, completely exposed. Unfortunately, it just, like, took a while to figure that out. They're committing ults for it, so, yeah, you're probably right to follow up at least a little bit, just so it's not a total waste. You're getting real aggressive there, where you know that there's going to be 5 people. Like, going up around this area, like trying to take this this angle, especially whenever this starts pushing, if you can actually like take this angle and try to control this high ground to get to the back line without exposing yourself and getting taken out, is probably a pretty good, especially getting close to visor and stuff. But like just playing in the open street and hoping to brute force your way through the front line is like often just like, you know, 50-50 gamble of, will the enemy team focus a squishy and kill us, or will we be able to brute force our way through? So like try to control the angles where you can actually like make a difference without putting yourself in like exact danger, or like peeking people 1v5, or like taking just unfavorable duels. Like here, now you're completely split off. Like that was a great ult if that was his intention. They're not seeming to follow up on it, but like in any other elo, that Hanzo would have ulted, and then fucking 4 people would have pushed you and killed you in like 2 seconds.
My ultimate is ready.
That's unfortunate. Like, I'm not gonna fault you for that. Try not to jump around a bunch versus the snipers, just because it makes you like a sitting duck. You just like travel in like a parabolic arc that is like pretty easy to predict. That one was whatever. Like, he's obviously not at a distance where he probably intended to headshot you, but it's not like he wasn't trying to shoot you in general. And then like, yeah, this is why I mean like crossing the bridge and stuff and getting out of sight is like pretty important. So because he's ulting you again, and you're just literally in the middle of the bridge, like the wide open area, you're probably just gonna get, I assume you get visored and die because you're just like multiple seconds away from being able to get to any semblance of cover. Okay, it looks like the team's actually pressuring him, trying to keep him indoors. That's good. Definitely can't rely on that too often. That's unfortunate. So if you were going to ult, as soon as you heard the Kitsune rush, you probably should have pressed Q. And then be in a position where you think the Junker Queen is going to ult, that maybe you can LOS it like on the other one of the either the left or the right hand side of the payload, and then using the Kitsune rush actually get to the back line. It's kind of rough because it's like basically completely naked Kitsune rush visor. Like, there's like one of your teammates like died before everything. Like, it's pretty unlucky overall. But if you were going to ult, like for sure, you should have done it as soon as the voice line for the Kitsune rush came out, so that whenever the animation's done for the Kitsune rush, you're in visor shooting.
I'm still standing. I'm still fighting.
But even then, you still don't need to fight 5v5 grouped up entirely. Like, as DPS, you can definitely try and find those off angles where you can pick somebody off and get an advantage for your team, and then rotate back with your team to like take the 5v4, or even try to take another kill with you. Like right there, you got so close to getting a pick and just don't, you know? Like, you were so close. But it's hard to do that. Like, it's hard to get a pick like that unless you just have the aim of a god, or someone just like completely doesn't realize you're shooting at them. But like, it's 5 people facing directly at you. It's gonna be difficult to just kill somebody if you don't have really good aim. Because I mean, they're not NPCs. Like, they're human beings, like taking in the same information you are. That you're shooting at them and they don't want to be shot at. Here you should just be running. I don't know why you turn to try and shoot whenever multiple people are dead. Again, there's a health pack to the right of you that you can just like speed this process up with, but it really doesn't matter. It gets you a little bit of ult charge, but the timer's running out anyway. Now, defense is a little bit different. I do play a bit more passive. I mean, not like AFK, but I do play a bit more passive on defense myself personally. So that's a criticism for myself more than anything. The Mercy pocketing is kind of crazy, to be honest. Like,
5, 4, 3,
it does make the frontlining bit where you're just trying to brute force a little bit easier whenever you have a Mercy pocket. But here, like right now, even right now, you feel safe because you have a Mercy pocket it. But there's like no reason, first of all, to be down here on the low ground starting off, when you could just be on the high ground. And if you find out they have a Widowmaker or something, just get down immediately. But being on the low ground and swinging super wide just because you have a Mercy pocket is just bad form. You should not get in the habit of just like swinging and peeking, especially when it's a first spawn. Like, you know, there's 5 people alive. It's, you know, the door's just open, so you're swinging wide on 5 people, hoping that all 5 of them don't immediately shoot you to death. And then the res gets used, and hopefully she's able to get the res off and doesn't die for it, and then it just becomes like this cascading consequences. You know what I mean? And then now there's like a shield, and because he cut off your one angle that you're able to see people from, you're forced to back up because you're not on a high ground where you can literally just rotate 5 feet and just still keep shooting people. Because he blocked right there, and you're in the middle of the only choke that exists for you, Like you have nowhere else you can go quickly to start to keep doing damage, and like that gives up a ton of space right now. They're probably gonna push this entire payload all the way up unless your tank just decides to meat block them. Yeah, see, the payload's like all the way up because suddenly that one shield relieved like all the pressure on their push.
Bionic healing ready for use.
There's nothing necessarily wrong with what you're doing. But again, it's a lot easier to kill a tank or literally anybody else if the supports are dead. That guy decided to end, honestly. Right here, what you're doing is fine. If you had a little bit better aim or a little bit better prep or used your rocket or anything like that, you probably would have gotten a pick. But putting yourself in positions where you don't need to have really good aim because you're shooting at people who aren't aware that you're there, or you're able to shoot people who are distracted by other things and you're taking their attention, are a lot easier to kill. Like, you don't have to have godlike aim mechanics if you're shooting at people that aren't aware of you. Like, if you take an off angle, open with your rocket on like a direct hit or whatever, and then follow up with whatever shots it takes for you to actually kill them, you don't have to have godlike aim and mechanics. You can be completely average. But because you're trying to like brute force the front door and stuff and like shooting at people who are very aware that you're aggressing on them, it's very difficult to finish those kills off because when everyone's aware of it, they're going to try and, you know, shoot back, dodge, and then help the people who are taking the most damage at the time, you know?
My tactical visor is charged. Everyone heal up.
60 seconds remaining.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because like because of your positioning and obviously your own support's positioning and everything, whenever Ramatra ults, you just don't have anywhere to go. Like, you can't even sprint away from that almost. Like, if he's going to get on top of you, he's going to get on top of you. But it's just like one of those things. You're not doing yourself any favors, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, mechanically, if you're saying you're like diamond and above, I'm not seeing it from the mechanics or like the positioning and decision making. Like, this seems like a game from a gold player who has a negative win rate, if I'm being honest. But I think you can do better. Like, I really do. I think you're just trying too hard to brute force the front door, whenever you should be looking for off angles and picks from people who are like unaware of your existence. And then like if you are forced to like group up 5v5 team fight, you need to be in a position where if Ramatra ults, you're able to like run away, not be in a position where he takes 3 steps forward and suddenly he's pummeling you in the face, you know? And then like I'm just gonna call it here because there's only like a minute left, and I assume there's just like some team fights that go sour and it just gets pushed like the entire time. But if you're not getting healed, you should be aware of where the health packs are on the map. You're playing soldier as well. Like, you have a biotic field. Like, you're one of the most mobile repositioning characters in the game. But you need to try and take these off angles where, and I mean, you might have to figure out what's a good off angle a few times. But like, if you can go to an off angle, get a pick on someone who's unaware, and turn that into an actual advantage that you can like capitalize on, that's great. But like trying to just take these like, ego fights and 5v5s where basically you're forced to hit your shots on people who are aware that you're shooting at them, it's just like not a winning combination, you know. But I think you can do better. It definitely doesn't seem like anything crazy or anything I haven't seen before. But if you have any questions after this, let me know. I hope that you didn't think I was being too harsh on you. It's just you said diamond mechanics.